Hello, and welcome to the reflection video for my final portfolio project as an MET candidate at Boise State University. My name is Mike Lipson. I'm a media arts teacher at Natick High School in Natick, Massachusetts. I teach primarily game design and electronic music, and I also teach game design through Tech Online Academy, which is an entirely online school here in Massachusetts. So I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself, talk a little bit about some of the work that I've completed as part of my MET program over the last 2.5 years, and share a couple of the things that have really influenced my practice over this time. I started out with my work on my MET thinking I would learn a little bit about some new tools and strategies and familiarize myself with some new techniques. And in reality, I actually got a lot more than that. I learned about some totally new concepts that have absolutely transformed my teaching. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And to do that, I want to show off just a few artifacts and pieces that I've worked on over the last couple of years and how they've impacted my practice. Many of the things I'm going to show off in this reflection video have actually been directly useful in my practice. So we're going to just jump right in, and we'll start with a couple of projects that I worked on as part of EdTech 502, Internet for Educators. And so in that class, we spent a lot of time working on web fundamentals, talking about HTML, CSS, and doing web programming so that we could build sites and applications for the web. And I already had a little bit of experience with this when I started with it, but I actually got a lot deeper over the course of this class, and I was able to do some really cool stuff, including create a web quest and virtual field trip. Actually, there's two separate things, my web quest and my virtual field trip, both of which are still in use in my game design classes as they exist today. So these are really important because they use web technologies to deliver lesson content. So this is stuff that I used to stand up at the front of the room and deliver to students, and now they're able to get access to this information over the internet on a website that's well sequenced, that's self-paced, it's flexible, and they can get around that site however they need to get the information that they need. They can refer to it at any time, and it's easily shareable. So I use this, both of these artifacts, as background material for quests in my quest-based game design course. So students are asked to learn about genre and about platform in the context of games, video games specifically. And they use this material as prompts for activities or as resources for gathering information, and they write about game design ideas that they have in specific genres or in specific platforms using what they learn on these sites. And what's cool about these is that they're usable in all online courses like my Tech Online Academy course, or they're usable in a blended course format like what I have at Natick High. So these projects are actually really great because they're usable in all different formats and all different situations, and no matter what kind of work the student needs to do, there's something in here for them. The next project I want to talk about is a much bigger one, and that is my Instructional Design project, which is part of EdTech 503, Instructional Design. So this paper kind of documents the entire process of creating a lesson, which I do use in a slightly altered form as part of my quest-based course. So I created this game design lesson as part of my traditional format game design course, and I ended up changing it just a little bit so that it fit into the quest-based learning style. But this project is really important because it demonstrates a complete lesson design. So it took me from inception all the way to completion, and not only did I do the whole process, but I documented the whole process. So I'll tell you about a few of the sections that this thing includes. It's a nice long artifact with a lot of great information in it. It starts out with a needs assessment where I take a look at the population of learners that are going to be experiencing this lesson and try to get a sense based on a survey of what their needs are, what they're going to be able to do. I also do a learner evaluation. So not only do I ask the learners what it is they need, but I also look at them and kind of get a profile of them as learners. I also analyze the tasks. So I created some really interesting diagrams, and actually creating diagrams has kind of become a common thread among a lot of the work that I've done since I started at Boise State. I've made a lot more diagrams. I share a lot more diagrams with students. And some of the diagrams you can see in this instructional design project are actually great examples of the kinds of diagrams that I'm creating that in this case document an entire task. So they show exactly what students are going to need to do and how they're going to go through a procedure to get that done. I also do some standard stuff like including objectives. So I made sure to think through objectives, and I created an entire table that kind of describes not just what the objectives are, but what their characteristics are and how they relate to the assignment. I created an instructor guide so that this assignment, in the spirit of instructional design, this write-up isn't just for me to use in my own teaching, but it's for anybody else who wants to do some teaching using this assignment. So I approached this as a designer, not as a teacher, and I wrote an instructor guide so that others would be able to deliver this lesson in the same way that I would. I also created attention and motivation guides, which are really useful for the students, or specifically for the teacher in how they approach the students with this material. So it highlights exactly what it is that's supposed to be interesting or motivational or attention grabbing for the students so that the teacher knows what to focus on. I documented the learner context, and so I kind of explained how this assignment fits into the overall structure for assignments and how it fits into the overall nature of the course, and give a sense for the instructor, whoever that may be, of how this fits into the larger picture. I documented tools and tutorials to support the instruction. So anybody who's approaching this totally new, whether it's somebody who's taking over my class or somebody who's starting a new class on their own, knows what tools I use to create the assignment, but also what tools students will need to complete the assignment, and some information about how they can go about using those and learning them and getting up to speed themselves. We've also got a formative and summative evaluation, which is really important because it gives us a chance not just to grade the students and check how they're doing at the end, but also to get a sense for what their progress level is midway through the lesson so that we can adjust for whatever the situation may be. And then finally, we've got connections to standards. So it's really important that this assignment not just teach what it intends to teach, but also teach what students need to know. And so standards define what it is the students need to know and what they need to be able to do, and connections to the standards from this assignment show how this assignment meets those standards. So just so when an assignment gets picked up by an instructor, they can kind of check to make sure that it really is what they should be teaching. And so my instructional design project does actually detail that. So, like I said before, this assignment does exist in my current curriculum. I do teach it. It's adjusted a little bit to fit the quest-based learning style, which is kind of how I structure my courses these days. When I first started this assignment, I was doing a more traditional format. Now I'm doing a quest-based format, so I just adjusted the lesson so that it would be, the content is changed minimally, but the structure is a little bit different. All of the preparatory and motivational guides still apply, so you can apply this lesson in a quest-based course or in a traditional course, however you want to do it. And creating a quest is actually a similar process to creating a lesson, so it requires the same type of preparation, all of which is detailed in this assignment. So this assignment works really well for any instructor teaching this content, no matter what the format of their course is going to be. So now we'll move on to another project that I did as part of EdTech 533 YouTube for Educators. The video that I created is called Getting Started with Unity, and it's really important to my own development at Boise State because it's emblematic of a lot of the video content that I've created since and that I will continue to create in my courses over the next several years. So I'm moving, as I'll describe a little bit later on, toward an all quest-based format, and I want to do more blended learning with video, a lot of video and a lot of interactive content, and YouTube is a great way to do that. Video online in general is a great way to do that. So this video is my first attempt at something that's becoming a much larger cornerstone of my courses, which is a lot of online video tutorials. And so this is a look at how I see the future of my educational career, and possibly a look at the future of education in general if the trend in online educational video kind of continues the way it's going. And what's really cool about this is it's more efficient, at least in my view, than whole class direct instruction. If I stand up at the front and I demonstrate something, and then a student misses a piece of it, then I have to then spend time with them in class going over that piece. Whereas if I create a video like this one, then the student can go back on their own, they can see something as many times as they want, they can time shift it however they want. Really, really great, especially for the kind of hands-on work that we're doing in the game design class that I teach. So in terms of how I actually use it, like I said, I use it in both my blended learning class at Natick High and my online class through Tech Online Academy. And so this content kind of bridges the gap. It works in all situations. and it's available to students in all classes at all times. So whether they're on vacation, whether they're at home, whether they're in school, they can always access this content. They basically have access to me whenever they need me. And it's time shiftable for students who need to see something again or for who need to go at their own pace. It's totally flexible and really, really cool for that reason as well. So the final project I want to show off is my final presentation from EdTech 532, Educational Games and Simulations, and this is kind of the big touchstone piece of my entire career at Boise State. This is what changed my teaching entirely. So this is really, really important to me, both as a teacher and as a student at Boise State, because this format is how I'm going to be running my courses in the near future. So I've got 2 quest-based courses already, and I have a 3rd lined up that I want to get finished up by the end of the year. This format shows huge gains in performance and motivation over the traditional course that I used to teach. It's all the same content at a faster pace, and students are doing it. They're doing really, really well, and I'm very, very happy with the results that I've seen. So I'm going to continue doing this. It provides flexibility. It provides differentiation. It really just does a ton for students without many downsides. I'm more available for them. I am able to just focus on teaching individuals and kind of coaching them rather than just standing up at the front and delivering the content. So I use this in 2 of my classes, Game Design and Advanced Game Design, and I'm going to incorporate it into electronic music over the next year. I'm currently working on switching to this for all of my classes, so eventually digital media as well will be in this format. This is great because it frees up my in-class time, lets me work with students one-on-one. It allows all my students to progress at their own pace, so students who are ahead are no longer stuck waiting for new content to become available. Students who are behind no longer feel like they have nothing to do because we've gone past them. They can just keep working on what they're working on until they progress. And I also am able to offer this course in a blended format at Natick High and entirely online through text. So it's very flexible in terms of how the students approach it, but also in terms of how I'm able to offer it. So that's really, really made a huge difference in my practice. It's totally changed the way I view education personally. So I thought I'd finish up by talking a little bit about how some of these artifacts, specifically the quest-based learning projects from EdTech 532, really went on to change the way I think about my profession, the way I approach teaching. So I said at the beginning of the video that when I came to Boise State, when I started my MET 2.5 years ago, I expected to learn more about tools and techniques and maybe pick up some new strategies for how to incorporate technology into my teaching. And what I ended up getting was that and way more. I actually got some really, really big takeaways in the form of quest-based learning, which has totally changed the way I approach my practice. Experience creating videos specifically for YouTube, but videos for the web in general, and approaching new media in ways that can transform the content that I deliver to my students. So I'm no longer having to stand up front of the class and direct instruct. I can instead spend more time one-on-one with kids. And distributed cognition, which is kind of a new way of thinking about the way I store and process information. And it's a thread throughout my entire MET career and has really just helped me manage the amounts of information that I have to deal with in my teaching. So with those principles, I've kind of gotten a handle on just all of the expectations that are kind of coming across my desk, so to speak. So probably the biggest of all those takeaways was changing my course formats over to quest-based learning. And that's something that I'm going to continue to do as a goal for the next few years. It's my personal goal for my practice, is to be an all quest-based learning teacher. I really, really believe in the power of quest-based learning. I've seen the results. The data that I get from doing my teaching this way has really, really been valuable and helped me approach a lot more students with much more useful suggestions and valuable information. And so this is something that I'm going to continue working on over the next few years. It's something that I want to kind of do as a thread throughout my whole kind of educational brand. And not only am I going to work on implementing quest-based learning as I'm using it right now, but I'm also going to try to improve my quest-based learning implementation and figure out new ways, new ideas that can improve the way I'm implementing quest-based learning. So that could be something like in-class economies or systems that encourage students to have more discussion or to help each other. There's all kinds of incentive systems that are implied in quest-based learning, and some of them I've been able to make explicit, but others I think still have some development required. So over time, I want to turn quest-based learning from a concept that I picked up at Boise State that gave me a new way to teach into something that I kind of have my own fork of, my own version of, that I can adjust and make into something that really fits my practice. So that's kind of my goal for the next few years. I'm going to continue working on quest-based learning, continue working on kind of formatting that in a way that works for me and for what I'm teaching. So in closing, thank you so much to everyone at Boise State who's helped me over these last couple of years, to all the classmates that I worked with, all the professors that have been really, really helpful. Thank you for introducing me to a new way to teach and a new way to approach my practice. And thanks very much.